The snow that never told. The helicopter pilot almost missed it. From the sky, Alaska looked empty. Just white snow, dark trees, and frozen rivers twisting like cracked glass. Nothing moved. Nothing spoke. But then he saw the color. Not bright. Not loud. Just a small shape against the endless white. A purse. He circled back. Below him, state troopers stepped carefully through the snow. The wind screamed across the valley. One officer bent down and lifted the purse with a gloved hand. Inside was a driver's license. The name froze the entire team. She had been missing for 8 months. And she wasn't the only one. The trooper looked up slowly at the trees around them. Because the snow wasn't empty anymore. Someone had been leaving women here. And the helicopter pilot suddenly realized. This wasn't a search. It was a map. 10 years earlier. Alaska doesn't feel like the rest of America. The roads stretch forever. Towns are hours apart. Winter nights last longer than some people can handle. And sometimes, when a person disappears, the land keeps the secret. In Anchorage, people lock their doors. But in smaller towns, they don't always think they have to. Everyone knows everyone. Or they think they do. The first disappearance didn't make the news for long. Her name was Lena Carter, 22 years old. Brown hair. Worked late shifts at a diner near the highway. She told her coworker she was walking home because her car wouldn't start. She never arrived. At first, police thought she accepted a ride. It happens. Alaska is cold. People help each other. But days passed. Then weeks. The snow fell heavy that year. Tracks vanished fast. No witnesses. No camera footage. No phone signal. Just silence. Her mother kept the porch light on anyway. All winter. Spring came, but Lena didn't. Police searched the road, the woods, the riverbanks after the ice melted. Nothing. Not even a shoe. They called it a missing person case. Not a crime. Not yet. But one detective felt wrong about that. Detective Aaron Hale had worked in Alaska for 15 years. He understood how people disappear here. Hiking accidents, storms, animals, getting lost in whiteout conditions. Nature usually leaves clues. This time, nature left nothing. People don't vanish that clean, he said quietly in the station. No one argued. But there was still no evidence. Until 6 months later, another woman disappeared. Her name was Mariah Scott. Different town. Same highway. She left a friend's house after midnight. Said she'd be home in 20 minutes. Her phone stopped moving halfway there. Not out of battery. Stopped. Police searched immediately this time. Volunteers joined. Dogs followed scent along the roadside. Then suddenly circled, confused. As if she had stepped into a vehicle. Detective Hale stared at the map. 2 towns. Same road connecting them. Both late night. Both alone. Both gone without struggle. He placed a red pin for Lena. Another for Mariah. Then he waited. Because patterns in Alaska don't appear fast. They appear cold. Winter returned early that year. Snow covered the ground before Halloween. The third woman vanished during the first storm. Kelly Burns, age 19. Grocery store clerk. She told her brother she'd be back in 10 minutes after closing. Her car was found running in the parking lot. Driver door open. Keys inside. No footprints leaving the area. The snow erased them. But the storm hadn't started yet when she disappeared. Detective Hale stood in the parking lot at 3 a.m. watching snow fall under streetlights. 3 women. 3 locations along one long highway stretching into wilderness. He no longer believed in coincidence. He requested help from state investigators. The official word finally changed. Possible abductions. Rumors spread faster than the news. Truck drivers talked at gas stations. Mothers stopped letting daughters walk alone. School buses waited until children reached their doors. People started calling it the frozen road. But there was still no proof of a killer. No bodies. No witnesses. No suspect. Just distance. And in Alaska, distance protects secrets. Months passed. Then the 4th woman vanished. This time, someone saw something. An old pickup truck parked on the roadside just before midnight. Engine running. Lights off. A waitress remembered because it felt strange. The license plate? Covered in snow. But she remembered the color. Dark green. Detective Hale felt the investigation finally move. They checked every green truck registered in the county. Hundreds. Too many. But one detail changed everything. The waitress added quietly. The driver wasn't from here. He asked how far the next town was twice. Locals never ask that. They already know. Police began looking at travelers. Seasonal workers. Delivery drivers. Anyone moving town to town. Then winter storms shut down travel for days. The case stalled again. Until the thaw. Spring revealed what winter hid. Hikers found a boot near a riverbank 40 miles from any town. Inside was a sock. And inside the sock, a small folded receipt. The date matched the night Mariah disappeared. Detective Hale drove 6 hours to the site. The river roared with melting ice. The trees were dense. No roads nearby. He stared across the water. Someone had brought her here. On purpose. The land didn't take these women. A person did. And he knew the wilderness well. Search teams expanded outward. They found nothing else. Weeks later, another discovery changed everything. A hunter reported tire tracks deep off a service road. Not recent, but not old either. The tracks led toward a clearing overlooking a valley. The snow had preserved something strange. Not a camp. Not trash. Just a flattened area in the center. As if someone stopped there many times. Detective Hale stood in silence. Then he noticed the trees. Each had small cuts in the bark, about shoulder height. Marks. Guides. Like someone navigating in heavy snow. Returning again and again. He felt a chill that had nothing to do with Alaska's weather. This wasn't random travel. This was routine. By the second year, 5 women were missing. All young. All last seen near roads. All within a long stretch of wilderness between small towns. The press finally named it the Lost Women of Alaska. Families gathered for candlelight vigils. Photos lined the streets. People stopped hitchhiking entirely. The state brought in federal investigators. They reviewed every case again. Then one analyst noticed something Detective Hale hadn't. The timeline. Every disappearance happened within 3 days of the same monthly supply delivery route. A commercial driver who serviced remote communities. One truck. Dozens of stops. No attention. Always moving. The driver had passed each location within hours of the disappearances. Detective Hale stared at the paperwork. For 2 years, the suspect might have been driving past police checkpoints the entire time. But before they could question him, the helicopter found the purse in the snow. And inside, not just a driver's license, a gas receipt from a town none of the victims had ever visited. Which meant one thing. There were more places to search. And more women they hadn't even known were missing. Detective Hale didn't sleep that night. The purse sat on the evidence table under bright white lights. Frost still clung to the stitching. It had been buried under snow for months, maybe longer. But the receipt inside was clean enough to read. Different town. Far north. Past the normal patrol zones. Past where anyone would casually travel in winter. Hale pointed at the map. This isn't just where he leaves them, he said. This is where he goes. The room fell quiet. Because the distance changed everything. The man they were looking for wasn't hunting close to home. He was transporting. And transporting meant planning. The commercial delivery company provided a full route history. Every week, the same driver. Same truck. Same schedule. Hundreds of miles across isolated Alaska highways. The man's name was Daniel Corvin. 41 years old. No criminal record. No arrests. Perfect driving history. He delivered dry goods, tools, and supplies to towns too small for large stores. People knew him. Some even trusted him. In places like these, the delivery driver wasn't a stranger. He was familiar. That made it worse. Hale studied photos from surveillance cameras at supply depots. Corvin always looked the same. Calm expression, heavy jacket, baseball cap. Never hurried. Never nervous. But in every video, Hale noticed one detail. Corvin always arrived late at night. Even when daytime delivery was allowed. They started quiet surveillance. No arrest yet. No evidence tying him to the women. Only timing. And timing alone couldn't hold in court. Agents tracked his next route. The truck rolled through town after town, exactly on schedule. He chatted with store owners. Drank coffee at gas stations. Smiled easily. Normal. Too normal. But Hale noticed something else. Corvin never stayed overnight anywhere. He always kept moving, even when storms hit. Even when roads closed. Where does he go when he disappears from radar? Hale asked. No one knew. Because parts of Alaska had no radar. No cameras. No signal. Only roads cutting through endless trees. They placed a tracker on the truck. 3 days later, it stopped in a place with no town name. Just a service road. The same service road where the hunter found tire tracks. Agents waited until he left. Then they followed the path into the wilderness. The truck had stopped in a clearing overlooking a valley. Exactly where the marked trees stood. And near the center, they found disturbed ground. Careful digging began. Everyone held their breath. Minutes passed. Then the shovel hit fabric. No one spoke. They uncovered a jacket. Then another. Personal items. Different sizes. Different colors. Belonging to different women. But no bodies. Hale felt a cold dread. This wasn't the end location. This was a transfer point. Forensics confirmed fibers matched 2 missing women. Now they had evidence Corvin had been there. But still not proof of murder. Not yet. They needed to know where the road after the clearing led. The tracker revealed a strange pattern. Every third trip, Corvin drove past his delivery route. Hours past it, into terrain barely used in winter. Then returned before morning. He was using the delivery schedule as cover. A moving alibi. Agents followed from a distance on the next run. Snow began falling heavily. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. The truck's taillights glowed faint red in the storm. Then he turned off the highway. The agents hesitated. The road ahead wasn't plowed. But they continued. The path twisted through forest, climbing higher into mountains. After 40 minutes, the truck stopped near an abandoned mining area closed decades earlier. Corvin stepped out, looked around, then opened the back of the truck. The agents watched through binoculars, hearts pounding. He pulled out supplies. Blankets, food containers, water jugs, not tools, not cargo, care packages, and carried them toward a structure hidden behind snow-covered trees. A cabin, not on any map. They waited for backup before moving in. By the time they approached, Corvin was gone. The cabin door was unlocked. Inside was heat. Fresh heat. Someone had been living there. On the table were multiple cups, different shoes near the wall, handwritten notes, and a calendar. Dates circled, matching disappearance nights. Hale's hands shook slightly as he opened a small side room. Inside were personal belongings carefully arranged. Hair ties, photographs, wallets. He recognized faces. Missing women, but still no bodies. No signs of violence. Just absence, as if they had been kept and moved. One officer whispered, "Where are they?" Hale didn't answer, because he noticed the back door. Open, snow drifting inside. Fresh tracks leading downhill. Small footprints. More than one. Search teams spread through the trees. Night fell quickly in the mountains. Flashlights cut thin lines through darkness. Wind erased tracks as they followed. Then they heard it. A distant engine. Not a truck. A snowmobile. They ran toward the sound, but it faded fast into the valley. Someone had just escaped. Or several people had. At the edge of the trees, they found a second path leading down toward frozen river terrain, impossible to track safely in darkness. Hale realized something chilling. Corvin wasn't just hiding evidence. He was moving people. Alive. The next morning, helicopters scanned the valley. Hours passed. Nothing. Then a ranger spotted smoke far beyond the mapped trails. A tiny plume rising between cliffs. Rescuers landed carefully nearby. There, half collapsed under snow, was another shelter made from old wood and metal sheets. Inside they found blankets, food, and a message scratched into the wall. We were told to wait. No names, no dates, just that, and fresh footprints leading away. Back in Anchorage, the case exploded into national news. Not just disappearances, possible captivity. Authorities issued a warrant for Daniel Corvin's arrest, but he didn't show up at his home, or his workplace, or any known address. The truck was later found abandoned at a gas station 200 miles south. Keys left inside, fuel tank full, as if he planned it. Inside the cab was a map covered in markings. Circles, paths, dozens of remote points across Alaska. More than the known cases. Many more. Hale stared at it for a long time, then quietly said, "We were never chasing one crime." He pointed at the farthest circle, deeper into wilderness than any search had gone. If this map is real, he stopped. Because that location had no roads at all, only air access, which meant the next discovery wouldn't be found by patrol cars. It would be found by chance, or not at all. And at that very moment, hundreds of miles away, a park ranger opened a locked shed near a remote airstrip and heard movement inside. The last circle, the ranger froze. Inside the shed, something shifted. Not an animal. Too careful. Too quiet. He pulled his radio slowly, whispering for backup, eyes never leaving the door. The lock hung open, recently cut. Snow around the entrance was pressed flat by many steps. He pushed the door wider. A voice came from the darkness. "Please, don't leave." A young woman stepped into the light, shielding her eyes. Behind her stood 2 more figures, thin, wrapped in layered clothing that didn't match. They looked tired, confused and afraid of the open sky. The ranger didn't ask questions. He called for emergency airlift. Hours later, helicopters carried them toward Anchorage, and the entire investigation changed. Doctors confirmed they had been missing for months. Alive, cold, malnourished, but conscious. They told investigators the same story in different ways. A man brought them supplies. He said roads were dangerous. He said authorities wouldn't believe them. He said staying hidden kept them safe. Sometimes he moved them between cabins. Sometimes he vanished for weeks. They never saw other people, but they heard aircraft occasionally. And each time, he warned them not to signal. Detective Hale listened carefully. No chains, no locked rooms, but control, isolation, fear. Every movement scheduled by him. They didn't even know how far from towns they were. Because in Alaska, distance is invisible. The women helped investigators identify locations on the map found in the truck. Each circle matched a temporary shelter, not permanent prisons. Stopping points. Corbin had created a network, small, scattered places across wilderness where someone could live unseen. Why? That question haunted everyone. Because nothing stolen. No ransom. No known connection between victims. Just selection and movement. Search teams reached more circles. Some empty. Some abandoned long ago. One still warm. But Corbin was always gone before they arrived. He knew the land better than the people hunting him. Every time. Weeks passed. Snow melted slowly into slush. Rivers opened. Travel changed. Helicopters now had easier access, but so did he. Then a break came from somewhere unexpected. A fuel station worker hundreds of miles away reported a man asking about charter planes. He paid cash, didn't give a name, but cameras showed his face clearly. Daniel Corbin. He was planning to leave road territory. To fly. Authorities moved fast, alerting private pilots across the region. 2 days later, a small aircraft mechanic called it in. A man matching Corbin's photo requested a pre-flight check at a remote landing strip. But the plane never took off. Because this time, officers were already waiting. Corbin didn't run. He stepped down from the aircraft calmly when he saw them. No resistance. No panic. Just silence. Hale approached personally. For a moment, they simply looked at each other. Hunter and hunted after months across wilderness. Hale expected anger. Or fear. Instead, Corbin said quietly, "I kept them alive." Interrogation lasted hours. Then days. Corbin spoke slowly, carefully. He said he watched people. He believed some were in danger, alone, struggling, vulnerable. He convinced himself removing them from their lives was helping them. He chose isolated locations so no one could hurt them. But he never explained why he decided who needed saving. Psychologists later described it as a control-based fixation, not rescue, not protection, but ownership over safety. He planned routes for years, built shelters gradually, mapped distances precisely, and used his job as the perfect cover. The rescued women gave statements. Some described confusion, some fear. Some said they believed him at first. Storms, darkness, endless forest made everything believable, until they realized no return was being offered. The case moved to federal court due to transport across regions and unlawful confinement. The evidence wasn't about violence. It was about deprivation of freedom and deliberate deception. In court, maps covered entire walls. Every circle marked a moment someone vanished from normal life. Every route showed planning beyond coincidence. Hale testified last. He described the first tire tracks in the snow, the clearing, the cabins, the shed near the airstrip. Then the judge spoke the words that closed the case. Multiple counts of kidnapping and unlawful restraint. Corbin listened without reaction. Months later, winter returned to Alaska. Snow covered the service road again. Wind erased the last remaining footprints around the clearing. But one thing remained in evidence storage, the map. Hale visited it once more before it was archived. He noticed a faint pencil mark near the edge, almost erased. One more circle investigators never reached. He checked search records. No team had documented it. No survivor mentioned it. No shelter was found there. Just coordinates in deep wilderness beyond regular flight paths. He stared at it a long time. Because in Alaska, land keeps secrets well. And sometimes, not every location gives back its answers. Thanks for watching. Kindly like, comment, and subscribe for more crime documentary.